On the morning of June 5th, there was a moment that would come to symbolize all that had happened during those spring days. He disappeared into the crowd afterwards, and no one knows where he is now. No one is even certain of his name. But for the millions who saw this scene all over the world, its meaning was clear. Here was human hope and courage challenging the remorseless machinery of state power. The Chinese government interpreted the scene just as simply, but differently.
稍有常识的人都会看出，如果我们的铁骑继续前进，这个螳臂挡车的歹徒难道能够阻挡得了吗？摄像机拍下的这个画面，同西方某些国家的宣传恰恰相反，正好说明了我们的军队保持了最大限度的克制。
In the days after the end of the protest at Tiananmen, large numbers of people were arrested all over China.
I heard the government's most wanted list on the radio. At first it seemed only students were on the list. But I finally heard my own name. I couldn't stand the humiliation of being hunted down by the police. I wanted to maintain as much dignity as possible while facing the inevitable. So I decided to go to the police on my own. I told the police, I've come here because you've got your facts wrong. I don't know if it's deliberate or because you don't understand what really happened. Since I was involved, I feel it's my duty to straighten you out.
When individuals stand up to power, they bring to the encounter the lessons that power has taught them and the harm it has done them. Merely to stand up does not free us from these things. Behind every gesture of hope and courage lies a life, a society, a history. Tiananmen, the gate of heavenly peace. The gate that once led to the imperial palace. Here, 70 years before the protests of 1989, students gathered to denounce the government's failure to stand up to foreign powers. Their protests spread quickly through the country and came to be known as the May 4th movement. Years of student demonstrations followed. Despite violent government repression, arrests, and killings, generation after generation, the students came out to protest, inspiring other Chinese to follow them. China was in danger. Those in power resisted change. Young intellectuals felt that they must place their lives on the line to awaken the people. Theirs was the duty to save the nation through democracy and modern science. When the great change did come, it came from the countryside, a peasant army led in part by people who had participated in the student protests. Mao Zedong's Communist Army entered Beijing in 1949. With the birth of a new state, announced at Tiananmen, the dreams of generations of idealists seemed at last able to be realized. Nothing would be the same thereafter.
When I was a child, I went to Tiananmen twice a year for the parades. Mao stood on Tiananmen Gate. After the parade had passed, a huge crowd of children would rush up to the gate. No words, just the sound of children's voices. I would wave flowers or release balloons or doves. Mao would wave his hand like this.
To accommodate the masses, the new masters of China, the leadership ordered the building of a great square before the Gate of Heavenly Peace. the largest public space in the world. Along one side was built a great hall of the people. On the other, a museum of history and the revolution. In the center was erected a monument commemorating the martyrs of the revolution, a tombstone of the great dead, which consecrates the square as sacred ground. The monument depicts scenes from China's history since 1840. There are no recognizable individuals. These figures stand collectively for the people. Among the ancestors of the new China shown here are the students of May 4th, 1919, protesting before the gate itself. When the students of 1989 occupied Tiananmen Square, they made their headquarters here, next to images of other students who changed China's history. They were consciously associating themselves with the tradition of student protest. By their own actions, they were adding further meaning to the square, the place in all of China most charged with meaning.